With that, friends, welcome. I am Sam Schneider. I am Bad Beard. I am the host of this show, and today we are back at Barber Motorsports Park here in Birmingham, Alabama, with our friend Brian Case. I made the joke last time when we were talking to Mr. Pandia. It's Mr. Barber. It is, in fact, not. It is Brian Case, but not far off, though, yeah?
Yes, so Mr. Barber is our visionary founder of the Barber Museum, and this, to me, is, I can't think of a better place to call, like, work, right? You know, like, this is not work. This is pressure, but it's not stress, right? So all of us here, the whole team, are doing already what we love to do and be around, but the opportunity here, what the exciting factor of that is where we're going to go from here, the future, and getting more and more people interested in motorsport.
Well, because the only thing pushing you guys forward is yourselves.
Yes.
Because you're all individual creators, you're all individual curators.
Yes, so George Barber is very much our leader in terms of get after it. He doesn't know what's over the next horizon, but he wants us to charge full steam ahead up that hill. So it's great to have that visionary founder leading us. And we don't know what's down the road, but we have to take all of this and present it to the world and help them understand it and then interpret it. And in terms of content, I mean, we are never going to run out of content. We just have to communicate that content now. So it's really been exciting. It's been an exciting 5 years for me, but a year since I've been in the role of running the place. And
well, so explain that a little more. Like, you've been here for 5 years in a different capacity. You were a part of the design team?
Yes, so I came here with kind of an outside perspective. The Barber executive team approached me for just some kind of outside input, like what could we do that could possibly make this place even better? Which was a weird question to ask me because I love this place. And I had been coming here for 15 years up to that point. And
you're local to Alabama here?
Local to Birmingham. I moved here originally in 2006 for Barber Museum, for the motorsports.
Before
park.
you even worked here, you moved here?
Yes. So it was a draw to me already. And so I relocated to this city for this place and to use it as a reference library for design. I'm an industrial designer. So this to me is...
By trade, you were already an industrial designer?
Already an industrial designer. So I would use this place. I became a member right away because I figured this is getting expensive, so I'll be a member, come and go whenever I want. And so for years, I was just a patron. And I saw this whole library of motorsports as inspiration for my own projects, right? So I've designed a couple motorcycles in this building, just looking at everything that's ever been created all under one roof and using that and harnessing it for inspiration. So so 5 years ago, I was asked to kind of have a fresh take on where could we go with this. And so I spent 2 months walking around, taking notes. I had my little sketch pad. And I was talking to...
I feel like you need several pages for a sketch pad walking around this place.
Yes, it takes if to get through it. If you're into everything, you look at everything, you read everything, it'll take days. You need a whole weekend.
I'm a big plaque guy. Anytime I see a plaque anywhere, my lady gives me shit because I'm just like, I want to read it. Somebody took time to write something very specific. I was like, that's some good intel.
There is so much to pique the interest no matter what you're into here, right? So I was talking to the people and the staff and interviewing everyone. And so long story short, what came out of that several month process of analyzing the pulse of the museum was a screaming desire for design and engineering, communicating the process of how all these machines got made. So what we had done really well up to that point is show the final product. Right? The perfectly restored creation,
pristine,
on display under the lights. That's great. And we have the history. All that work, hard work, has been done. And so the opportunity to me was, well, let's talk about how it got made. Who were the designers? How did the patterns get made at the foundry? And talking about design and engineering. And so that is how we kicked off. And I was a part of the concept for what became the design center upstairs. So on the top floor of the museum, we we renovated the entire top floor gallery into a design and engineering center, a lab behind glass, and for demonstration. So we could
hands-on. So you can see screws.
Everything. Yeah. So from full industrial design capabilities and 3D printing and clay modeling, AR, VR, MR, all of the R's in this one lab that we could put on demonstrations and show regular people coming through the museum every day.
Forgive me, I actually didn't know. I just assumed because everything is so well thought out and everything's been touched and to a degree, that I thought that had just always been a part of the process. I didn't know that was a new installment.
So we started the concept. I was sketching it out, and then COVID hit, and so there was a couple of months there where it was kind of like the whole world was like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And so had a bunch of conversations with George Barber, and he said, well, let's do it anyway. And so I got the green light to come up with the concept for this lab, 10,000 square feet of industrial design playground. And I started working on it during COVID and designed the whole layout. I said, who's our architecture firm to do all this? He said, you're going to do it.
Were you like the kid in the candy store type
it was
thing?
pretty cool. So, and I had never done a clean sheet design studio like the way I wanted to do it. So I immediately reached out to industry veterans, master designers, one being Pierre Terblanche, who now works here upstairs in the design center as a mentor to young designers. And so, that was my resource. And I had, 9 or 10 other designers around the world, all during COVID, who were
they had a lot of time on their hands.
Yes, and just actively, telling me, and I asked the question, like, if you had a clean sheet of paper to design the ultimate design studio that had every tool and every resource you could possibly want, what would that look like? And so I had a ton of input into that. And
had any of these individuals had that same opportunity, or were they all like, you guys were all just texting each other like, yo, are you for real?
To designers, industrial designers that all these companies have, in their design departments. These are the sketching and the rendering and the model making and the clay modeling and now the 3D printing and the VR. Those teams of designers typically are kept in secret, right? They're in a back room somewhere. Nobody talks about what they've done until after the bike or the car comes out, long after they've done the work, years, 5-6 years sometimes. And so it's this little hidden secret world of design. And our purpose here at Barber, because we're a nonprofit museum, we're an institution, we can showcase that work and bring it to the forefront and highlight these designers and the work they've done. We don't have to hide it in secret. And so that's the opportunity as a not as a school, but as a supplement to school curriculums. We can show kind of what the latest and greatest technologies are that are coming just in the 2 years. So we opened in 2021 and very successful the first couple of years. We had, I counted, over 7,000 students that came through the design center during.
Where are they coming from? What schools they come from?
All over, mostly Alabama. We started to branch out into the surrounding states, and we have an existing education program here. So all we did was integrate the design lab into our educational tours, and what we found was it struck a chord with elementary, middle school, high school kids that are kind of still wondering what they're going to do in life.
Well, if you guys are able to bring a light to some of these different artistries that are typically under the radar, they didn't even know they had the opportunity to do something. So the crazy thing, I'm not an educator, right? And so I'm up there in this lab. I'm learning something right now.
Right. So I'm up there. I'm now the director of this Advanced Design Center at Barber, and I'm thrown into this. I've got to talk to 50 third graders now, and I have young children myself, and I'm thinking like, all right, what am I going to say to these kids to get them interested in this stuff? And I just spoke about my own career, my own path, how I would have appreciated someone coming to me when I was that age and showing me a path, right? And I didn't have that till college. I wanted to be an architect, didn't really learn what industrial design was until I was in college. And so I had all of the tools necessary for a career in industrial design when I was 10 years old. You know, Legos, playing with models, sculpting clay, sketching, rendering. Been doing that my entire life. Didn't know it was a career until college.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to these kids now, 9, 10 years old, when the center first opened, right, I'm just telling them what I did, you know, and I turned that into a career, and they're just like, what?
That's an option.
Like, and you know, parents would be in their chaperones and stuff, and they're like, Mom, Dad, like, I do that at home. And you ask, you know, third graders, third, fourth, fifth grade, like, who here knows what 3D printing is? They're all raising their hand because they're doing 3D printing at home. So it's a perfect opportunity for a place like Barber to show a glimpse of a career path that will get these kids excited for doing something that they already have an aptitude for and they love doing. And to me, that's everything. So, you know, you have to be doing what you love to do.
One, not a bad place to do it.
It's very rewarding, and now that lab has 2 functions really.
Yeah.
It's an advanced research center, so we can reverse engineer things up there if we need to. Let's say we're doing a restoration project and we come across a part of unobtainium, doesn't exist, can't find it on eBay or whatever.
Yeah.
We have to rethink how it was made and come up with.
And you have all the resources and tools available
That's right.
to, if you can reverse engineer it, you can then recreate.
So we have a space in the building now that can support our other departments in the building. Now the other half of the purpose of the design center is to inspire. Inspire curiosity, show a glimpse of where we're going in the future of design. And just in the 2 years since the center has been open, and this leads me to why we brought Pierre in, everything is changing. It's unreal. The digital workflows in design right now are changing so fast. I'm having trouble keeping up. And even some of the software that we brought in the beginning has changed.
Yeah.
And now you introduce AI, which is changing itself. And it's like by the day you go in and you log into your account and it's like there's new tools. And it just happened overnight. And it's growing and evolving so fast.
Yeah.
So what we try to say now, the message to people just discovering these technologies, is you can never rest on your laurels. There's always going to be a better tool. Learn that tool. Don't just get locked into what you know, what you're comfortable with. Be uncomfortable. Learn the next tool, because with computer technologies, it's changing at such a rapid
Well, I think
pace.
that there's an actual metric of the exponential growth that technology has, that it's you know,
it's just like that.
It's one before the other, you can't even keep up with it. So to act as if you could just, no, I got it figured out and be good, you just dated yourself.
Yes.
Growth and
right.
change is the most exciting thing that's afforded to us, and it's going to happen regardless. So you either get on or
Move with it.
get out of the way.
Yeah, or you'll be obsolete.
That's it.
You know, when I remember when these generative technologies started coming out in software, and everything's in software. So generative design, where the computer is actually helping inform the geometry, is entirely opposite of how we used early computer technology. We used early CAD 60 years ago as a validation tool to what a human already thought up, right? So a human is the smart one and comes up with a shape for a structural part, and then lets the computer evaluate that, simulate it, and validate the design, right? And it either breaks or it doesn't. You make it stronger, you add material, take it away. The way technology has gone with software is the computer, the AI, it's really just smart software, has a seat at the design table. And I am now embracing that. I was scared of it at first, and a lot of people are like, oh, it'll never be as good as a human. I think it's really cool, because while the computer's over there crunching geometry for me, I can go do 10 other things, you know? And so all I'm now, as the designer, I'm just pulling the levers. What material to choose, what properties I want it to have, what loads it's going to experience. And so I'm pulling the levers behind the curtain, and the software now has a seat at the table to drive the geometry instead of the reverse, where it's just validating geometry. It's amazing.
It's so fascinating, and I'm curious your thoughts too, where it's, depending on which industry you're speaking to, everybody has a different opinion on AI, and that it's the downfall of, or it's the expansion of, or the,
or it's stolen your voice, and it sounds just like my voice. It could be,
But there's always the idea that if you step back from that and realize that as a human, that's just zeros and ones doing what it's been trained to do, and it's going to continue evolving as such. And eliminating Terminator type, Skynet conversations from it. It's just another opportunity to reinvent yourself, and people seem at times they could be scared of that. But with institutions of higher learning and equally places like this, my question is, how's a guy like Barber? How old are you? Like 84? That
he's in his 80s.
That he's had like the cognizance to go like, the future though. What we haven't figured it out yet. What's coming next? That's a great conversation.
Yes, I've really got to know him over the past few years, and to me, I understand how a place like this gets built now a lot better than I used to, and we need visionaries like him in this world who don't get mired down in how to do it. They're leaders and they're visionaries. This is what we're going to do, and this is where we're going to get to. And so I think he's just always been that in life, in business. He's been that kind of a visionary. So we are now here to continue executing on that vision and show it to the world this applies to other areas. This isn't just about motorsports. This is about all curiosity, reaching for the stars and so forth. So it can apply to many different disciplines.
Well, and so that's where you came into the picture 5 years ago, and then equally this last year when you stepped into your position. Was that a happy handoff, and you were like off to the races, or what? Who did you take the Ravens for? Was that Mr. Barber himself?
So our former director, Jeff Ray, he had been here over 30 years, and he retired.
Oh, that's
and
great.
So he's part of who helped build the place, right? And so to me, a lot of the hard work has been done. The brick and mortar, is amazing. Like this place is built. The fact that it's even built, like I was saying, is impressive. Because how does a place like this get built and survive? And so the opportunity that's been given to me now is unbelievable, that I can work kind of on top of the building now, and look down, all right, what do we need to work on?
A more macro view?
Yes. So, and to me, it's all about communications, right? And so Robert, a guy like Robert coming in here, that is such a great opportunity for the future of Barber, because he's going to help spread and communicate beyond the four walls, right? So I think symbolically that is huge. For a long time, we've thought about the container that holds all this. Now we're going to embrace digital communications and bust out the four walls.
So you're saying in the past it was like, this has been the best kept secret just because unintentionally it's like, oh no, we're focused here. Like we're not really concerned with the
It makes total sense to me, because this place was built before social media.
Yeah.
So the thinking at the time, I mean, who wouldn't have arrived at that? Is let's build the biggest, best place we possibly can out of concrete and glass. And that happened, and then all of a sudden, media changed overnight, 20 years overnight. But everything's changed. So the fact that we're even sitting here with a 3-camera podcast that you're running yourself is my point, right? That was unheard of when YouTube was invented in 2005, 2 years after this place opened. So everything has changed. Now we can kind of pick and choose the best technology, the best channels to communicate the stories we want to tell.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect time for this to happen, and I'm very thankful and grateful for all of the people who contributed to this place over the years to have what we have now, to carry the torch into the future, and it's really great.
Well, so with that, what do you guys, and I asked Robert about it, and then what are you guys projecting? And when you guys come together, like, how do you continue to expand past the best?
Yeah.
You already achieved that. And so what are you able to decide and say, like, well, this is what we like? Like, how do you even pick?
Well, we're not in a race, and that's a good thing.
Counter to what's happening outside.
Yes, we're not in a super hurry.
Yeah.
Like I said, we can.
Are you in competition with anybody? Is there any other amazing museums out there?
I don't think there's any other place
can't
quite like
compete.
Barber.
No.
And the fact that we have a racetrack with, Porsche running around today.
Mm-hmm.
The racetrack is a huge component of why this place is so successful. It's right there in our backyard. We do all kinds of things on that track, including this weekend with a small bore festival. Mini festival, we'll call it, but it's growing.
Yeah.
This will be a record year for small bore. And so we've learned all these, small displacement bikes need a playground to go to, And then Vintage Festival, of course, in the fall, which is one of the largest in the nation for vintage motorcycles.
That's where I had my first episode.
Yes, so that's still growing, and that's amazing. And so we're thinking about ways to just amp it up a little bit, right? And that's very exciting. But I will tell you, coming into this role, that's now I'm almost a year into this. I learned a little bit about myself through this journey that I realized, okay, this is kind of why I am the way I am. I was entrepreneurial right out of college, started my first business, and that really led me to a path here. And so I don't have the wiring to stop myself when I jump into something. I am overly ambitious, and I don't look at all the pitfalls I'm going to face, because if I thought about any of that stuff, I wouldn't even attempt it. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the entrepreneurial condition, and it's also a designer condition. So designers and concept artists and creators are always thinking about what could be done and answers and solutions. And so I tend to jump in feet first, and I did that here. And after the first few months, I thought, what did I get myself into? But yeah, I'm over that now.
Yeah, it's starting to feel at home.
Yes, yeah. Now we're setting our sights for long term. And so it's really exciting, and I really enjoy being around the people, the team that we have here. It's a small team. It's a small family. We do it when you see the park and everything that's out there. Just keep in mind that it's maintained by 15 people.
Holy crap.
It's unreal. The park and what Mark does out there with his team.
That's why you guys are serious about messing up your grass. You know don't mess that up.
But you'll see after this event this weekend, it'll be spotless.
Yeah, sure.
And so people will, it's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
If we care about our place, our guests will too. So
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you guys have done here as a whole, and I'm excited for where you guys are heading next in the future. More so because of the fact that I have found myself in your basement here, having a conversation with you. And so I don't know what's next in store for you guys, but I'm excited to watch and see what develops. If everything else is a representation of what you're about to do, I can only imagine it's going to be cool. So I hope to share that experience. But
well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Please come back again in October. Of course, Kenny Roberts is our Grand Marshal.
I'm looking over a couple
so we've got a
bikes
very
right now,
special bike there. He's going to be running around turning laps on this track. And I have to say, having witnessed him ride a TZ750, I was there in Indianapolis in 2009, and I saw him ride a TZ750 around that flat track. It was by far one of the most amazing spectacles I've seen to date. It was just unbelievable energy to see him twist the throttle again.
Yeah.
And he's going to do that again right here this fall. So,
well, hot damn.
Come back and see us.
With that, appreciate you,
Thanks,
sir.
man.
Thanks for being on. Until next time, folks, And this is actually the portion of the show which you just did a little bit of, but where you can enter your camera into the wide. Anything specific? You already made mention of Kenny Roberts coming back, but is there anything else that you would love our fine audience to know?
Well, I would say that if you have never been to Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, it is truly a place that you need to see. You need to step foot inside the door. You can't go onto a website or watch a video or whatever. You've got to come here and feel it and feel the concrete and walk through the place, and we'd love to have you.
Well, with that, folks, come check it out. Come physically check it out. There's a lot to do, and there's even more to look at. So with that, until next time. That's it.
Cool.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know how you would even, it's like, are you supposed to eat a hamburger one bite at a time? Or what is it, eat a cow?
Yes. Yeah.
Eat a cow. That's what, that's how I imagine you'd have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, and when you come back, I mean, there's any number of little rabbit holes we could go down and talk about just specific things in time, like there's so...
When I didn't get a chance to, ask you specifically, you're a motorcyclist yourself.
Yes.
And so, that's just got to have, whatever draws you to bikes, there's,
So, and that's part of the story, deeper story of how I got here, because Barber's team invited me here. I was with Confederate Motorcycles, which is a boutique custom bike maker at the time. And they were invited to Birmingham to set up shop here. And so they were my clients, so I joined them and got to Birmingham. Then I started my own company after I left there, which became Modus. And Modus was my company. I did that for 10 years. I was the designer. And so that car, that carbon fiber F4 car has my engine in it.
Nice. And
so that's the end product of what I did for 10 years of my life, was design and develop a V4 engine based motorcycle, which is up on the 5th floor outside of the design center. So you'll see a white bike up there with red valve covers on the engine. That's my bike. And that was serial number 1.
When did that come into the museum?
So that was 2014.
Okay, so you already had a seat in here before you even had a job.
Already donated something I designed to the collection.
And they're still making you pay for a membership fee.
No, I don't have to pay for that anymore.
Come on, Mr. Barber.
Yeah, no. So, so that was just like a no-brainer. Like, of course we would want something that we built in this collection to lock it away forever.
Yeah.
So that was a donation in 2014. And prior to that, I had been a part of several press events here. Like, we're launching a new motorcycle brand.
Has it always looked as it does since its inception?
Oh, yeah. Well, 17, they punched a wall out and built 80,000 more feet.
Ew.
So it grew a little bit in 17. But my personal bike was launched right up in that atrium. So we brought all the press here in 2011, pulled a red sheet off of a prototype bike. So I've always been orbiting this place. And it's really weird that now I'm here.
You never had an intention to be like,
Didn't occur to me until Mr. Barber picked up the phone and called. Like,
you call him Mr. Barber, you call him George.
I still call him Mr. Barber.
Yeah.
That's just the thing.
Fair.
So, but yes, until that happened, it never even occurred to me that I would have a future here helping and contributing. And so, my life changed overnight. And so it was really great, came in at a perfect time. And so my company had just closed down in 18, and I liquidated all of the assets and just came out of a personal funk, right?
Yeah.
And came out of that because I had a 3D printer in my basement. I make furniture.
Yeah. I
had 2 daughters, so I just started getting into stuff again.
Was it a tough transition to go from, lead designer of your own company, being the businessman that it takes to run your own company, to then now I'm for a nonprofit. I'm not competing against anyone except ourselves.
No, it was a great transition. It was not tough at all. It's a completely different
You came to running.
It is a completely different experience. Yeah. I had this overwhelming pressure lifted off of my shoulders that I hadn't felt my entire career. I mean, I started my own business right out of college, and I'd always been hustling. Constant 24/7, and when you married and kids, it's just so much tougher to live like that. And so
I got an ex-wife, man. I get it.
So it's tough. It's tough on everybody.
Yeah.
And so I have a newfound, passion and motivation right now. That I mean, at 5 o'clock, the security guards are kicking me out of here.
Yeah.
And we're shutting this place down. It's,
Yeah.
sorry, you got to go. It's like, all right, I guess I'll go home and eat with my family.
Yeah.
So that completely switched everything for me. And it frees up a chunk of your brain to think about other stuff now. And so I'm not always go, go, go. Now, it is getting a lot busier now, but it's a different kind of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always, owning businesses, I was always stressed.
Yeah.
And that can age you quick. But yeah, now I get to.
It's my desire, my fantasy, that in pursuit, like I've always run my own business and worked for myself and had a wonderful life, but it has been of hustle and chase. I'm not motivated by money, unfortunately, and so it's been unique in that sense. But it's part of my, fantasy that at some time I'll end up in a position like you, where there's like, oh no, we just want you to be creative.
Yeah.
No, don't worry about getting the business. Don't worry about sending out the invoices. Just go do the thing you're good at.
Yeah.
And like those wheels just explode.
It's really funny in all of the creative career paths, whatever school you go to, they don't teach just basic running your own business stuff. Maybe they are now, but 20 years ago they weren't. And like 90% of the kids I graduated with were all freelance and started their own businesses. Like, some basic accounting courses would have gone a long way, because they all started their own things and they had to be, self-starters. And if you didn't do that, you're starving,
When maybe they have it in larger universities. I went to, at the time it was just a community college. I went to a film program in Orlando, in Valencia. And it was a great school. I learned heaps. But as far as like a mentor or like getting that guidance, because you come out of school and all of a sudden you're just, and you just hit the ground running. And so I relocated and I just kind of was winging it for the last forever.
Yeah.
But identifying some of those pieces, like some simple accounting, understanding how to network and where to put your time and attention.
Yeah.
But you end up where you're supposed to, and it's all
accounting, sales, marketing.
Yeah.
Preparing pitch decks, presentations. Things that help generate clients, and can go a long way.
Well, I mean, you did all right. You ended up here, you're
in a roundabout way.
In a roundabout.
Yeah.
That's what life is, man.
Yeah, it is. Well, cool. Yeah, welcome back anytime. And
yeah, this is great.
There's so many more things that.
I mean, anytime I talk about anything, it's just like I've scratched just the tip of the iceberg, because there's so much to see, and you guys have spent so much time doing so much.
Yeah.
But I won't steal any more of your time, and this was the little bonus because we kept rolling.
Yeah. Yeah.